everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I am super excited to share with all of you my first impressions of the DANESSA MYRICKS Dewy Lip and Cheek Color Palette. I have this in the color story Do It Undercover, which is the nude, neutral, brown undertone set. So as you can see, I have not dipped into this yet, so if you're interested in seeing my first impressions of this formula and palette, then just stick around. So I am super excited to try out this palette today because I have been seeing this just all over YouTube and social media. Honestly, I was initially going to pass on this palette because I've accumulated a decent amount of blush in the past few months. And if you guys watched my January roundup, you know that I've been really loving the DANESSA MYRICKS Vision Flush in Ballet Slippers. That's been one of my favorite everyday blush shades. And so it kind of seemed like overkill to pick up more DANESSA MYRICKS blushes. But I was really attracted to this product because I feel like it's pretty hard to find really good nude cream blushes. Usually when brands launch cream blushes, they have a lot of corals, a lot of pinks, maybe a terracotta in there, but rarely do they have really brown-based blushes. And for me, on an everyday basis, I love going in with a really neutral cream blush. Most days I don't really wear any foundation, and so I just want to slap on some quick color on my cheeks, and I feel like a nude shade is perfect for that because, at least for me, most days I don't necessarily want my blush shade to be that obvious. I don't really want to go for like a blushing pink look or a really summery orangey look. Instead, I just want something that is like really simple, that just makes me look a little bit more healthy, a little bit more tanned. All of these shades look so beautiful, and I'm really excited about the prospect of layering these or mixing these. So without further ado, let's get into this product. So let's start out with packaging. This is the box that it comes in. You can see the Do It Undercover colors over here. And this product has a 12-month shelf life. The palette itself comes in this clear acrylic packaging. It's a snap enclosure, and then you have the 4 shades inside. All of these shades are meant to be used on both the lips and the cheeks. As you can see, there is no mirror in this compact. As a brand, DANESSA MYRICKS is a little bit more geared towards makeup artists, and so most of her products don't come with any mirrors. Now let's swatch these 4 shades. It's actually a little bit less soft than I thought it would be based on some of the pictures. I think sometimes people just scoop it out, especially if they are a makeup artist. But if you're just running your finger on top of it, it's actually a little bit more firm than what I would have expected based on the pictures. So this is what the finger swatches look like, a little bit more sheer than what I was anticipating. But of course, we can see if we can build these up. So let me zoom you guys in for these swatches. Turn down the brightness a little bit. So here we have swatches of the 4 shades. First we have Hush Hush, which is a really pretty peachy tone. Then we have Nude-Atude, which is more of an ochre tan caramel tone. Then we have Wallflower, which is more of a reddish terracotta. And then finally we have Top Secret, which has more of a brown plum tone to it. Upon initial swatch, I will say that these come across a little bit more sheer than I was originally expecting if you just put one quick layer down. These swatches were really built up. So I think that means it'll work on a wider variety of skin tones, because even if you're pretty fair, you should be able to use a sheer wash, whereas if you have a much deeper complexion, you should be able to build it up. The consistency is slightly gooey, slightly slippery, and has a tiny bit of stick to it. So it'll be interesting to see how this product feels on the cheeks versus the lips. Usually, in my experience, products are not actually good in both places, but we'll see. I've been hearing some really good reviews about this palette, so fingers crossed. So to start out, I'm going to go in with Hush Hush, the lightest shade, and I'm going to just put this on the apple of my cheek on this side. So I'm just applying this with a finger because I feel like most days I just like going in with finger application so I don't have to clean my brushes. All right, so I will say, as I'm putting this on, immediately I am noticing it's quite sticky. So I don't know if you can see it when I put my finger here, but at least I can definitely feel that it's sort of sticking to my finger when I put this down. I am really liking how it's looking though. It's blending in really beautifully. And I don't know if you guys can see that dewiness, but it definitely has that shine effect. Okay, interesting, huh? So let me just apply a little bit more. I'm gonna go a little bit heavy-handed today because I want you guys to really be able to see the color and see how it builds up. But of course, on an everyday basis, I would probably not go this heavy-handed. Alrighty, okay, brought that down a little bit low, but I am liking how that looks, huh? When I first started applying it, my initial thought was, oh no, this is really sticky. I don't know if I like this, but remarkably, I don't feel like it took off my foundation underneath, which is really surprising given how sticky the product felt. And I do really like this effect on the cheeks. I mean, I'm usually not a huge, very, very glowy skin kind of person, but this is really gorgeous. It definitely, it's like that highlight without any shimmer type of look. It just looks really, really hydrated in that area. Wow. Hopefully you guys can see that. Alrighty, so far so good. So now let me go in with the next shade, Nude-Atude, and let's put this in the other cheek. I'm gonna also concentrate this on the apples. Interesting. So this one, even though it is deeper, is not really coming across as strongly as this one, because this is kind of like a bright pop of peach, whereas this is more of kind of a tan tone. I think normally this would look a little bit better further up the cheek instead of right on the apple. But of course, today I want to put all 4 of these on my face, so I'm just gonna concentrate this on the apples of my cheeks, and hopefully this looks okay. Alrighty, there we go. So here we have Nude-Atude, here we have Hush Hush, and I would say that Nude-Atude is definitely like a very everyday kind of shade. It doesn't really have much of a blushing effect. It's more like you have a little bit of tan on your skin. So again, I think I would normally maybe use this a little bit higher up, a little bit further back, almost like a bronzer blush. But it is really pretty. Definitely has a nice finish as well. That same glowiness. I do feel like this one has some almost kind of golden reflect to it, which this one does not have. So there might be some slight difference in formulation. And let me actually turn down the brightness a little bit as well, so hopefully you guys can see those colors a bit more. So again, Hush Hush and Nude-Atude. So next up, I'm gonna go in with Wallflower, and this one I'm gonna concentrate further back on this side. And I can definitely say already, this one is a lot more pigmented than the previous 2. The previous 2 I kind of had to put on a couple layers before it was really evident, whereas this one, as you can see, is already pretty evident just on initial application. So this definitely has that kind of reddish tone, and on my skin tone is almost a little bit plummy as well, which is interesting. I feel like if you really like berries or terracottas, I think this shade would look really nice. So hopefully you guys can see that there. I will keep building it up just so you can really see the shade. For me, this is not the typical kind of shade I really go in with, though I think that maybe a very light layer of this would look nice just all over the cheeks. So there we go, we have Hush Hush going into Wallflower. And now do the same thing on this other side, but going in with Top Secret. This one is very pigmented, so I'm gonna be a little bit careful with this guy. All right, that is very, very purple in undertone. I don't know if this one is going to be the most flattering on my skin tone because I do have slightly warmer skin tone, but let's see. Yeah, it is very, very purple. Just building that up. I'm not a huge fan of this color on my skin tone because it's almost giving me that kind of bruised effect, like I have, you know, a welt on my skin and the blood is kind of peeking through. So I'm not really a huge fan of how this side is looking. In general, I feel like this side can give you some slight sunset vibes with the peach and the red, whereas this side with the tan and the purple, it's giving me more like bruised vibes. So yeah, I'm not really enjoying this side. Let me actually try to go in a little bit with a beauty blender just to soften that up a bit. Although I don't know if it's better or worse to soften it up. It might look less intentional. Alrighty, so here we have the two sides done with all 4 shades. I would say that my initial impressions of this as a cheek product are a little bit mixed. I really, really love how Hush Hush looks. I'm actually a little bit surprised about that because I think Hush Hush is the least nude brown toned of this set. So to me, it seemed like the least unique when I was just looking at pictures online. But I really, really love how this looks. And Hush Hush definitely has a bit of a golden sheen to it, which the rest of these don't have. I would say tan looks nice for a very, very subtle, bronzy, blushing contour. For Wallflower, I'm gonna have to try a sheer layer all over the cheeks to see how that looks. It is also a little bit more on the plummy side than I think would be very flattering on my skin tone. It also has a little bit of that purpley undertone to it. And then Top Secret is just on me way, way too purple. I really think that this side of my face just looks like I'm recovering from a bruise, which is really not the kind of look I want to be going for, especially on the face. So yeah, so let's try this now on the lips. Hopefully these 2 shades work a little bit better as lip colors on me. And of course, I can only say how this performs on my skin tone. My guess is that these 2 would look a lot better if you have a cooler undertone to your skin and or if your skin tone is a lot deeper than mine. So for the lips, let's again start with Hush Hush. And again, I'm just using this with a finger. So there is 1 light layer on. So the opacity is not that high if you just put 1 layer on. I am noticing it clinging a little bit to my dry patches on my lips. I don't know if you guys can see that on the top side. That's not great. I do have pretty dry lips, so I need my lip colors to be very nourishing. Let's put on another layer. Okay, here we have 1 more layer, a little bit more opacity, though you can still definitely see my lip color peeking through. So this is more of like a very natural lip look. Let me add 1 more layer to see. Alrighty, I think this is as much as I'm gonna be able to really build this up without my lips really sticking together. I am feeling a tiny bit of stick already when I'm talking. I don't know if you guys can see that, but yeah, I'm not really a huge fan of how this is looking. I think this shade might look better layered on top of one of the other shades in a lip look. By itself, it's pretty sheer, so you're not really getting that full like lipstick effect. And even though this looks really, really pretty on the cheeks, has that nice peachy pop with that gold shimmer, I feel like on the lips, it's not really translating as peach. It's much more like kind of concealer lip territory. So yeah, not my favorite on my skin tone for just a one and done lip look. So let me take this off and then we'll go into the next shade. Alrighty, so now let's go into this Nude-Atude shade. Interesting. I feel like with 1 layer, I'm not really seeing anything on my lips. Maybe the shade is a little bit too similar to my natural lip color. Let me try building this up. And also, I know I could do this with a lip brush and it would be more precise, but realistically, most days I'm not going to go in with a lip brush, so I do want to see how this works just with the finger application. Okay, so here we have it with 3 or so layers, and I'm actually really liking how this is looking now. I feel like the opacity is such that you don't really see my natural lip color peeking through, and so everything is just much more even in tone. It's a really pretty nude meets caramel with a tiny hint of brick red in it, so I do actually really like this as a lip color. I would say the only thing I don't like about this is you do need to kind of build up several layers, and especially if you're using your finger, it's not, you know, the nicest lip application experience in comparison to just going in with a lipstick bullet, but I am digging this shade. At least upon initial impressions, I like this color a lot more as a lip color in comparison to a blush color. So next up we have Wallflower. Let's see how this guy looks on the lips. This is one sheer layer, definitely more pigmented than the previous 2. And here we have 3 to 4 layers. This is also a pretty nice color for the lips. Again, I think I like this a lot more as a lip color in comparison to the cheek color. This is overall kind of a deeper nude with a slight hint of plum that gives that slightly vampy vibe, but still I think quite good for an everyday basis, especially if you apply this with a sheer layer. And last but certainly not least, let's go in with Top Secret. A lot more pigmented than the previous ones. So this is one layer of Top Secret, a little bit messy. I think this is one that you probably do want to go in with a lip brush instead of just your finger, but I'm gonna keep plowing ahead. Alrighty, so here it is layered on top of itself several times, and this is a really nice vampy look. Very deep. I definitely like this way better as a lip color. This formula is actually pretty comfortable on the lips. This one was kind of the least comfortable, and this one has been the most comfortable on the lips. Not really a shade I go for on an everyday basis, but it looks pretty nice. So here is how the overall look is with all of the shades on my cheeks and with Top Secret on my lips. I do really like how Top Secret is looking, but I am kind of curious if we can pull off more of an ombre lip effect. So let me just go in with some of this peachy shade and see if I can just put this along the center of the lips. All right, so pretty sheer. I guess that gave a little bit more dimension. I feel like these products are pretty juicy, so it's a little bit hard to have precision, especially if you're just using a finger. Alrighty, there we go. I mean, I think that looks cute overall. Definitely provided a little bit more lightness and dimension to the look. So now for my overall thoughts and impressions based on my first use of this palette. I had pretty high hopes for this product, which is always a little bit dangerous. It's hard oftentimes for products to live up to your expectations when folks have already really hyped it up. I would say that I feel mixed about this product as a blush. I really like how Hush Hush looks on my cheeks, but the rest of the shades don't look that great, I would say. It's a combination of the shades just not looking that good on my skin tone. And also I do think that because Hush Hush has that slight golden shimmery effect to it, it is a bit more blurring and flattering on the skin, whereas the rest of these are just straight up dewy, and so especially for some of the deeper shades, they can come across a little bit patchy on the skin. And then in particular, these two on my yellow undertone skin just have way too much purple in them, so they give more of a bruised effect instead of a blushing effect. Also, I would say in terms of the formulation itself, it is quite sticky. Like if I lightly tap on where I have the blush on, it still has that stickiness, and you can really feel the stickiness as you're applying the product. The plus side is I don't think it lifts foundation up from underneath, so that's good. But it's not the most pleasant application experience. It's not really like you can just sweep it across your cheek and blend it in. You really need to kind of carefully tap it in because it is quite sticky. That said, I do think it shears out and layers up quite nicely, so from that perspective, this palette will probably work for a wide variety of skin tones. On the lips, I would say this product fares a lot better for me. It's a little bit reversed. I like this side better for blush and this side better for lips. I felt that Hush Hush was just not that flattering on my lips color-wise, and also was a slightly drier formulation, and so it wasn't as hydrating on the lips. Whereas the further along I got, I felt that the formulation actually was a lot more hydrating, and especially Top Secret is very comfortable on the lips. The downsides of this as a lip palette though are just that, for one, of course, you should ideally use a lip brush. If you're using a finger, it's a little bit messy. And then you do really have to layer this quite a few times if you want this to be opaque and not patchy on the lips. And so I think that's kind of the trade-off when you have a product like this that's supposed to be for both the cheeks and the lips. On the cheeks, you want something that is sheer but buildable and that sets down, whereas on the lips, you want something that stays hydrating and nourishing and that ideally provides more even pigmentation. And so it makes sense to me that it's kind of hard for this to play both roles simultaneously. So overall, I'm kind of on the fence about this product. It's not the slam dunk that I thought it would be. I kind of wish you could buy these shades separately because I do really like Hush Hush, but the rest I'm not really sure if I'll get much use out of, because even though I really like how Top Secret is feeling on the lips and overall this is kind of a fun, vampy lip, it's also not a lip look I often gravitate towards. So on the whole, I'm quite ambivalent about this product based on my initial impressions. I will keep playing around with this and give you guys my update in my February roundup, so definitely subscribe down below if you aren't already to be notified when that comes out. There is another colorway of this palette that Danessa Myricks released. So if you're into more springtime kind of classic blush colors, I think that one is a much better fit. Again, I was hoping this would sort of fill a gap in my collection in terms of nude neutral blush colors and lip colors. And unfortunately, upon initial impressions, I think the undertones for this palette are just not quite for me. But you never know. I tend to be pretty critical in these initial impressions, so if you guys have watched my videos for a while, you know that sometimes my initial impressions are pretty tepid, and then I find later on a use case that I really love for the product, and then it changes a little bit after that. So we'll see. I am not giving up hope for this palette yet, but it just didn't quite meet my very high expectations. If you guys have tried this palette or any other of Danessa Myricks Dewy Cheek and Lip Color products, I would love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments down below. In particular, if you have a favorite use case, definitely let me know because I'm looking forward to further experimenting with this palette. So that's it for today's video. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!